Beyond Walls. We're excited to have you today on this beautiful Mother's Day. We thank God for another opportunity to come into your homes, to come into your lives, and to encourage you, and to just wish you well. Let the love of the Lord shower you on this morning. We want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. We hope you enjoy this day, because tomorrow is not promised to us. Oh God, we come before you this morning. We thank you yet again for another Mother's Day, God, another year to see our loved ones and to be surrounded by those that we love, those that care for us. Oh God, maybe they may not be there in person, but we can feel the love that they are exuding through the cameras and through the air. Oh God, we thank you, oh God, because you are good and you are great and you are mighty and you are awesome, and we just praise you on this morning. We ask that you would come into this place, oh God, that you would settle here in us, oh God, long, and as we go forth in your word, oh God, help us to be doers of your word and not only hearers. We thank you and we give you all the praise, all the glory, and all the honor in Jesus' name. Because
Praise the Lord, everybody. Praise the Lord. David said, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. The song says, Jehovah Jireh, my provider. Jehovah Nisi. Lord, you reign in victory. God, you are my banner. Jehovah Shiloh, you are my Prince of Peace. And Lord, I worship you, not because of what you do, but Jehovah Shalom, you are my Prince of Peace. He said, the song says, I don't worship you because of what you do, but because of who you are. Who you are. So I worship you, I exalt you, I honor you, I bless you, I magnify you, and I glorify you. I want to say to all the mothers across the universe, Happy Mother's Day. To every mother in the universe, Happy Mother's Day. We love you, we appreciate you, and without you mothers, without you mamas, without you moms, there is no us. So we appreciate you. From the bottom of Church Beyond Walls hearts, we love you, we appreciate you, and look, there's nothing in the world that you can do about it. We are continuing our series on discovering the will of God for our lives. We won't be before you very long, but we want to just continue to massage this thought and push it and dig deeper. Last week we left off in a portion of relationships. We left off in at a very crucial portion in our study, and there's some things that we want to really look at. I think that are very necessary. Very necessary. We want to dig into the relationship part and move on further. We'll read our text again. The Bible says in Romans 12, 1-2, Paul says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, by the tender kindness of God, that you will present your body as an offering, as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable or your logical service, your spiritual act of worship. And then he says, don't be conformed or take on the shape or the schematic. Don't form to the schematic of this world, but be metamorphosed, be transformed like a caterpillar into a butterfly. And then he says, I want you to renew your mind that you can prove or you can test what is that good, that perfect, and pleasing will of God. He says, I want you to do this. Don't be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and perfect and acceptable will of God. And so we talked about relationships. We talked about giving, making sure that our relationships would be a reflection of how we value God, And as we dig into this portion, there's some things I want to mention to you. And I think it's befitting that we would discuss it one more time about what worship is. What worship is. Worship comes from two words, worth and ship. Worth is value. Ship means to shape. And so as we look at what God is saying, we're going to make definite decisions. We're deciding all day long. You have an option. You can either do it God's way or you can do it the way that you used to do it. And so when we begin to develop our mind, we'll see that we have decisions to make. And as we shape value, we'll decide if we are going to do things the way God has designed for us to do it. We're going to say, God, I value you this much. As the song says, for you I will. For you I will. And so when we get to that place, we begin to make decisions. Either go to the left or go to the right. And check this out. The ball is in your court. It is your decision to decide daily who you will yield to, who you will honor, who you will live for. Will you live for yourself, or will you live for others? Will you live for the enemy or the devil? Who are you living for? So we left off in relationships. We want to dig into this. And so we said that our relationships ought to exemplify the relationship that we have with God. If our vertical relationship is right, then our horizontal relationship will be right. I've heard it, you've heard it, and people have said, oh, me and God are good. I'm just in his word, and oh, I'm worshiping and I'm doing all this. And then you hear a person coming right out of this mode that they say they are in, and then they will tell you off, they may curse you out. Listen, I'm telling you, if the vertical relationship is just like you say it is, then every last relationship on the horizontal, whether it be on the job, whether it be in the home with the wife, whether it be with the children, whether it be with friends on the street, neighbors across the street, church relationships, business relationships, every other relationship is hinged off of your relationship with God. So let's reverse that. If the relationships that you have with your wife, from husbands to the wife, and from the wife to the husband, and from the father to the daughter, and from the daughter to the son, and from you to your neighbor across the street, your in-law, and sometimes maybe the in-law outlaw, if those relationships are not exemplary of a life that is pleasing to God, then your relationship with God is off. Okay? When you and God are good, everyone else is good. And it is very important. God is more concerned, and let me say this, God is more concerned about your relationship with others than he is your relationship with him. And we're going to go dig into some passages of scripture that are very, very important. The first one is Matthew 5, 23 through 24. Matthew 5, 23 through 24. You ought to write this down. This is the brother-sister family relationship. Okay, Jesus says this. Not Gabriel, not Michael, not the Apostle Paul, not Isaiah, not Elijah, not Ezekiel, not none of those. Listen, Jesus says, therefore, if you bring your gift to the altar, okay, that's your worship. That's your tithes and your offering. Whatever you bring, your prayers. Jesus said, if you bring your gift to the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you. Listen, I'm going to say something real briefly. We know when there's issues between us and our brothers, us and our sisters. A lot of times we have developed this pattern of stepping over one another. And I'm going to preach it and teach it like I feel led to do it because I'm trying to help somebody. And I want you to be helped as I'm helped. Listen, you cannot step over people. You cannot mistreat people. You cannot mismanage people and think it's okay with God. Jesus said, I repeat again, he says, if you bring your gift to the altar, and we're talking about value, we're saying, God, I worship you, and I honor you, and I glorify you, and you mean the world to me, and so therefore I'm going to do it how you said. So Jesus says in Matthew 5, 23 through 24, if you bring your gift to the altar, it doesn't matter how big, how pricey it is, how precious it is, and you remember that your brother has something against you. He says, first of all, leave your gift before the altar, go your way and first be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. Then, listen, the Spirit of God lets us know. That's what conviction is. He lets us know, hey, you know that situation, how you handled them, even though a whole bunch of people thought what you did was a good gesture, but you know and I know that wasn't right. How you got edgy with them, and how you call yourself undermining them and overlooking them and not preferring them, whatever it is. Well, listen, you know what it is. I don't have to tell you. Because according to Jesus, he's saying that you've remembered. Listen, he says the Spirit of God has jogged your memory. And he says if you want to have a life that's pleasing, a sacrificial life that's giving me glory and honor and worshiping me, and if you and I want to be good and there's no friction on the line, go and get that situation straight. Matter of fact, listen, and then I hear the scripture. The Bible says, don't let the sun go down on your wrath. You've got to get that situation straight. Get it fixed. It is not worth it. And don't let the person pass away. If they're alive, and listen, if you got their phone number, matter of fact, even if you got their old phone number, do a research, do a Google search, call cousin, call a relative. I don't care who it is, if it's between you and your dad. Check this out, it's Mother's Day. Some daughters have issues with their mothers. And I'm telling you, life will not go on for you until you get that situation straightened out. Some sons have issues with mamas. Get it straight so that y'all can be at peace and so that you and God can be at peace. And then as we go on further, we talked about this. Matthew 18:15, it says, if your brother or sister sins, this is deep right here. Go and point out their fault just between the two of you. I mentioned the song like last week. I said that Jesus wrote this song, just the two of us. Listen, don't take everybody. Don't make people an accomplice to your situation. Don't bring people in. I want you to know, sometimes we tell everybody else to get everybody on our side. Stop doing that. Jesus said, go deal with that situation. If they've sinned against you, get it straight. Let's move a little further. What if a brother or a sister has sinned against me more than one time, maybe 3 times, maybe 5 times, maybe 7 times? What if they keep doing the same offense over and over? All I can tell you is what the Word of God says. Jesus says, let's move down to Matthew 18:21 through 22. If you get these things straightened out, I promise you, some of us are living in 2020, but we have failed to deal with things in 2015. And so we're trying to exist in 2020, and because we haven't dealt with things that are in 2015, we're getting older, but we have not moved a step beyond 2015. Until you get these things straightened out with whoever it is, your significant other. And listen, I just heard something. Stop trying to play like you and your wife is good. We know you ain't good. We can see through that. Listen, you can walk all over it, walk around the issue, and don't buy a gift. Forget that. It's too expensive. Just apologize. Just get it straight. Just fix it. Why? Because you love the Lord and He loves you, and you want to restore your relationship with Him. And so once that is restored, once that is realigned, reset, you can get refocused and you can experience revival. Listen, I'm helping myself while I'm helping you. This thing is good. Now, what if they sin against me, or what if they disrespect me, and what if they do the same thing over and over and over and over again? What if? What if? What do you do? So Jesus speaks again. In response to Peter, the apostle Peter, to become. Peter says in Matthew 18:21 and 22. You ought to write this down. Matthew 18:21 and 22. It says that Peter came to him and asked, Lord, how many times, listen to this, listen to how the Amplified puts it. How many times will my brother sin against me and I forgive him and let it go? That's what forgiveness is. Let it go. Listen, Jesus answered him and said, I say to you, not up to 7 times, but 70 times 7 every day. That's a facetious response. He's He's saying as much as it takes, forgive and let it go. What is forgiveness? Letting it go. Listen, how do you know you've forgiven somebody? If you and whoever you had an issue with is good as long as they are in Los Angeles and you're in Beaumont, as long as they are in San Diego and you're in Temecula, as long as you're in Chino and they may be across the country, if y'all relationship can sustain itself like that and you good, and then when you hear they're coming to town and your whole disposition changes, your whole attitude changes, you have not let it go. Listen, let it go. Untie the shoestring, forgive them, and let it go. It ain't worth it. People are dying. It ain't worth it. It ain't worth being in 2020 and still stuck in 2015 because they cut you off on the road. Bump it, lump it, trump it, and dump it, and move on with your life and let it go. Move on. Forget it. It's not worth it. If you don't learn how to value God that much to let this crap go, you will make yourself sick. That's why the doctor can't figure out what's going on. They've done MRIs. They've done all kind of tests, and they said, we can't figure out what's going on. You got a grudge against somebody. Listen, I challenge you, I encourage you to go through that thing. Jesus said, you remember, let it go. It ain't worth it because you're trying to live a life of sacrifice, a life that's honoring and pleasing to God. Relationships. Listen, let's go further. James 2:14-16, relationships, how we relate to one another. Listen, if you see your brother or your sister in need and you have the ability to fix the situation, how do you think it would be best possible to display or to exemplify the fact that you love God? You got money. You got a little extra money. You might not have a whole bunch of money. And you see a brother with a genuine need. They are hungry. Do you really think prayer is going to do it? Oh, brother, I hope you feel good. Let me pray for you. No. James, or if they're cold outside. It's freezing. James 2:14-16 says this. What good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith, but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? And listen, then he says, and you say goodbye and have a good day. Stay warm and eat well. But then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do you? A person that's shivering outside and freezing don't need you to pray for them right then. They need a jacket. Matter of fact, take your jacket off because you got about 15 in the closet you ain't worn since 3 years ago. You may not even fit them anymore. I have no idea. So the Lord is saying through his brother James, deal with the situation. Relate to them. Show them how much. Show that person who is not on your level, who doesn't have the certain class you think you're in. Show them how much I mean to you by how much you give to them. How much you give to them. If I'm really what you say I am, if you are really a living sacrifice that is pleasing me, that is honoring me, that's a representative of me, then treat them as if you would treat me. Oh, I think I said something. Let me tell you something. You know how people want to become believers? How people want to join your group and become a Christian and be a part of your team and be a part of your ministry and be a part of your church? Start treating them the way God treats you. Start treating them the way God treats you. I don't want to get stuck here. And let's move on. 1 John 4:20. I love the word of God because the word is so true and it's so convicting, yet it is so good, and it gives us a pattern. It gives us a shape to follow. 1 John 4:20 says, whoever claims to love God, whoever claims to love God, me and God is good. We tight. I pray all the time. I'm fasting. I just got done worshiping. Some of you been speaking to, I just spoke in a whole other language. But John, 1 John 4:20 says, whoever claims to love God yet hates a brother or sister is a bold, bald-headed liar. Said you a liar. For whoever does not love their brother and sister whom they have seen cannot love God whom they have not seen. You see this person. Oh, but I love God. You ain't never seen him. But you cannot relate to others. You cannot give to others. You're hating on others. Let it go, because you're a worshiper of the living God. And the God that we serve, listen, metamorphosis is taking on the shape. Listen, conform to me means to take on the schematic. He said, don't take on the scheme or the schematic of this world, but be transformed. Transform, become who you really are on the inside. And whoever and whatever you spend your time with is who you shape yourself after. If you're watching crazy stuff on TV, I can't think of nothing, Operation Reno and whatever I don't know what you're watching. Whatever you watch, whatever you feed yourself, whatever it is, you get what I'm saying. Don't be too hard on me. Whatever you embrace will come out. So whatever you embrace, if this is right, then this is right. Let's move on. Let's move on. And then we kind of touched on the husband and wife relationship. I got to dig deep right here. Matter of fact, I got a backhoe. I'm about to dig real deep. Listen, brothers, sisters, those that are married, God is concerned how we treat our wives. Listen, God is concerned, husbands, how you treat your woman. Women, God is concerned how you treat your husband. God said if you really value me, you'll treat him real good. 1 Peter 3:7. Somebody told me they never read this in the Bible. Well, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you read it today. 1 Peter 3:7 from the Living Bible says this: you husbands must be very careful of your wives. Be gentle, being thoughtful of their needs and honoring them as the weaker sex. Remember that you and your wife are partners in receiving God's blessings. And if you don't treat her as you should, your prayers will not get answered. The King James Version says your prayers will be hindered. Maybe that's why you can't get the job you're applying for. Or maybe that's why you can't get the promotion you're trying to get, because the Lord said you didn't disrespect your wife. You didn't treat her as an old dirty rag. You listen, what Peter said, we got to treat our wives as, my wife puts it like this: I'm fragile, precious. You don't just throw around fine china. You don't throw around pearls and treat them like they plastic. Fragile. Watch, listen, and while I'm on this, listen, sons and daughters, how you treat your mama is important. We're going to find out how you treat your parents. God is concerned. You may be cutting your lifeline off. You may be cutting your lifeline off. And then let's go to, this still dealing with the husband and wife relationship. Ephesians 5:25-33 says, husbands, go all out in your love for your wives, exactly as Christ did for the church. Listen, do you love your wife the way Christ loved you? Think about that. He's selfless. He died. How many husbands are willing to die for their wife? And then it goes on in the passage to say, if you love your wife like you love yourself. Listen, I know me. I love electronics. I want to get me the latest MacBook. I don't even know what the latest one is. Listen, but whatever it is, I want it. And I have a really nice Dell 17-inch, but I want a MacBook. Matter of fact, I want to do everything Mac, because I guess I ain't going to say that. But listen, I want to hook me up. I want another vehicle. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I got some nice tires on the Maxima. I'm already thinking about getting some Pirellis or some Michelins on the other car, and I could use a nice Silverado. The Lord says, treat your wife how you treat yourself. Because nobody hates on themselves. If you hate on yourself, listen, come talk to me. Let's get some counseling or some therapy, something. You might have a temporary moment of insanity. Listen, I get upset with myself, but I ain't going to hate myself. I ain't going to hate on myself. That's a whole other story. Amen. So if you want to reference that, Ephesians 5:25 through 33. Now we want to talk about the children and parent relationship. This is powerful right here. Listen, Ephesians 6:1 through 3. The Phillips translation says this. Children, the right thing for you to do is obey your parents. This is Mother's Day. And Mother's Day, Father's Day, God's Day is every day. We don't just honor our mothers today. We honor them every day of our life. How you handle, let me read the scripture. Let me read the scripture so the word can talk to you. I don't want to give you what I think or what I feel. But it says, children, the right thing for you to do is obey, O-B-E-Y, your parents, as those whom God has set over you. And the older you get, the older your parents get, notice the age difference never changes. If your mom was 20 years older than you when you was born, she's the same 20 year, that 20 year gap. As you get older, as she gets older, the gap never changes. The relationship changes. And my mama told me this, and she said, as long as I'm alive and on this earth, I am responsible to still give you godly, wise advice. And if it wasn't for the advice of a Proverbs 31 mother, I would have jacked up a long time ago. I would have messed up a long time ago. Matter of fact, I should have been dead. I could have been dead. I would have been dead. But God blessed me with a godly woman. Who can find a godly woman? I found some. My wife is one. My mother is one. Listen, I got siblings and I got relatives who are godly, who give godly advice. Don't discount a person's advice because of the gender. Get over that. Get over that. And so he says that this is the first commandment that contains a promise. Honor your father and your mother, that it may be well with you and that you may live long on the earth. If you defy and disrespect your mother, you could be cutting your very life off. I know of people who disrespected their parents, and they didn't live past the age of 20 and 25. Be careful. Be careful. Listen, don't just wait for Mother's Day to honor your parents. And I'm gonna make a parenthetical statement right here. I'm going to pause it and just right here. Listen, take time out and talk to your mom. If you can go visit her, go visit her. You ain't got to go in. You can still stay covered up. Get her a gift. Get her some perfume. Do something. And listen, if you don't take the time to spend time with your mother, you may regret it. You may regret it. They brought you here. And you were birthed to that mother for a purpose. God doesn't make a mistake. They brought you here. Don't let another moment, you better call them as soon as this brought. Matter of fact, take a little break. You can watch the service party later. Take a break and say, Mom, I love you. I was thinking about you. And don't lie. Start thinking about it so when you tell her, I'm thinking about you, it's the truth. You better love on your mother. Amen. And then it says that your days will be well. You will have a good, healthy, lengthy life. I don't know if it be extra days or it will be the quality of life. I don't know about you, but I want the quality of life. And then Colossians 3:21 says parents, fathers. Now it's not, listen, God doesn't have a one-sided. He deals with all sides. He deals with all sides. We talked about how the parents should respond, how the children should respond to the parents. Okay, now we're going to find out how the parents should respond to the children. Just because they're younger than you does not give you a right to disrespect them or treat them as they don't know nothing. I had to learn that. My wife taught me that. Hey, they have a lot of sense. They have something to say, and hear them out. And I'm going to just throw this out there at you. If you can't take the time to listen to your child, they'll tell somebody else, and you may lose them. Okay, so Colossians 3:21 says this from the Message Bible. It says, parents, don't come down too hard on your children, or you'll crush their spirits. Watch how you handle it. Listen, as a father, I got to be very, very careful how I handle my daughter, how I handle my son. My son is a man. He's a young man. He got a goatee like me. It ain't big as mine. And he don't have the gray hair that I got, but I got to respect him. I got to deal with him differently. I have to be careful how I handle him. Why do I have to be careful? Because I want to honor God in every area of my life. Every area. And we're close to time, but I want to deal with this. As believers, we are to be law-abiding citizens. Law-abiding citizens. Very important. We think as long as we do this, that, and the other, that God is not concerned. Let's read what Romans 13, 1 through 5 says. If you're offended, call me on my direct line. We can have a conversation. But we ought to be law-abiding citizens. Romans 13, 1 through 5. Because this is how much I value. This is the shape. I want to shape my worth. So what I'm going to say is, God, I trust, I love you, I value you this much that I'm going to do what the law says as long as it doesn't conflict with what you say. Listen to what Romans 13, 1 through 5 says. Everyone must submit to governing authorities, for all authority comes from God. And those in positions of authority have been placed there by God. So anyone who rebels against authority is rebelling against what God has instituted, and they will be punished. So if you're driving around and your tax is due, they're going to write you up. They're going to tow the car. You're not suffering for God. For the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right. I never worry about, the only time that I trip about when I'm driving is if I'm going over the speed limit. And it's amazing. I can see the police 15 miles up the road. And something about my foot. My foot backs off. It backs off for the moment, and as soon as I get past them, my foot gets heavy again. I'm working on that. I'm working on that because I want to honor God in my driving. Okay, for the authorities do not strike fear in people who are doing right, but in those who are doing wrong. Would you like to live without fear of the authorities? I know I do. Do what is right, and they will honor you. The authorities are God's servants, sent for your good. But if you are doing wrong, of course you should be afraid, for they have the power to punish you. They are God's servants, sent for the very purpose of punishing those who do what is wrong. So you must submit to them, not only to avoid punishment, but also to keep a clear conscience. I just told myself, I can't just back off because they're there. I got to do it as a worship note to God. A worship note to God. Amen. We're going to stop right here. This is Mother's Day. We want to honor our mothers. And once again, to all the mothers across the universe. Okay? I wish I had an interpreter. I could say it in every tongue. But we want to say from Church Beyond Walls that, first of all, we love you. We appreciate you. We value you. If it was not for you, there would not be any of us. We thank you for your sacrifice. We thank you for bringing us here. We value you. We love you. We are praying for you. Take this time to value your mother. Call her. Send a card. Even if the card gets late, I know the mail's not running properly, but send a card. Just take some time on the phone. Send a gift. Do something. Show your gratitude for them bringing you here. We are praying for you. I can be reached at 951-522-2125, 951-522-2125. I can be emailed at Marlon, that's Marlon, like Marlon Brando, .Henderson@churchbeyondwalls.net. If you need prayer, we're here to pray for you. If you need counseling, we're here to counsel. If you need anything and God has enabled us to do it, I guarantee we'll do something about it if we can. We love him that much and we love you that much. We'll see you this same time next week, probably another place. God bless you. We love you.